Can people hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hi, everybody. We're going to show you how we can use Desire to Learn, or I'm sorry, BrightSpace, and place content into BrightSpace from the SoftChalk cloud. You're going to notice how really simple it is. And if you've already created content that's stored in the cloud, you're upgrading from Blackboard. It really is an upgrade. You'll see how very simple it's going to be to just take your content and just move it right on over into BrightSpace. And if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to ask them. We'll try to answer them for you. You'll see this is going to be a very simple process. Now, for me to show this, because my BrightSpace server is not connected to your West Virginia network, I cannot use the content that I had been creating in an earlier session. But the process will be identical to what I'm going to be showing you. Okay, kind of a disclaimer before we get started. I know everybody's really excited to start using BrightSpace after your, when is that going to happen? Does anybody know? Or has it already started happening?
Well, it started happening for a few schools. So we've got one test school coming up that's currently working now, hoping to be set up for the fall, and then hopefully we'll have others follow.
Okay, all righty, great. Well, I guess it's time for us to get started. So let me get started here. I'm David Evans. Most of you already probably know me. Let's get started with this. Now, you might remember if you were here for my last session, I had created some content that I stored in my lesson storage area. Now, unfortunately, that was inside of the West Virginia network. And I cannot show how to use BrightSpace, my version of BrightSpace, because I'm not connected or it's not set up to accept information from your network. So I'm just going to go into my cloud. And this is where I have all of my content stored. I'm going to log in. And you'll notice that I have quite a lot of different content that I've placed inside of my cloud storage. Now, what we want to do is start using that content. So I'm just going to navigate away from here to begin with. And I'm going to go into BrightSpace by D2L, where I'm going to log in as an instructor. Now that I've logged in, I've got a lot of different courses here. And unfortunately for the server and this BrightSpace that I'm using, a lot of people share all of these courses. Okay, unlike your situation. So there may be some stuff on here that I'm not ready to show, that I really don't want, but I'm going to go into this general class. So my first step is just to log in and then enter the course that you want to put your content in. Content goes inside of the content area. So I'll click on content. And you'll notice that I already have a lesson here. Okay, I'm going to come back and look at that lesson in a little bit. I've created some modules within my course. Currently, I'm looking at my math module. I could look at my science module where you'll notice there's, again, already some content. Now, what I want to do is I am going to be adding, I guess to start with, I'm going to put in some content in my mathematics module. I'm ready to add an existing activity. It already exists. It lives in my SoftChalk cloud. So I'm going to click on existing activity. And then I'm going to scroll and I'm going to choose the SoftChalk link selector. This is a tool that is installed by your BrightSpace administrator that then gives you access to your SoftChalk cloud account from within BrightSpace. Okay. Now, there are two methods using what I've started with to add content into BrightSpace. It could come in as a hyperlink or it can come in as an LTI link. What's the difference between the two methods? Well, if I want the scores to go into the BrightSpace gradebook, then I use this LTI link. Now, what kind of objects generate an LTI link? Well, let's go back in. I'll come back here in a few seconds. Let's go back into our SoftChalk cloud. As I look at my lessons, I'll look at lesson 1 that you saw me develop in the previous, some of you saw me develop in a previous class. Now I'm going to click on that and I'm going to scroll below the preview and notice that it does generate a hyperlink. It also generates an LTI, that stands for a Learning Tool Interoperability Link. And it also generates an embed code. Now, this LTI link is the link we want to use to have the student scores go into the gradebook. Now, that's only available inside of our lesson storage. If I looked at my learning objects, and I'll look at some of these scored items for my learning objects here. I'm going to pick this fun trig identities. It's an item match, and I click on its title. It then shows me a preview. Okay. But I notice it only generates a hyperlink and an embed code. So I cannot put that kind of an item, a learning object, into BrightSpace and have it connect to the gradebook. The only objects that can go into the BrightSpace gradebooks are lessons. So I'm going to look within my lesson storage. I'll look inside of this branching and more, and I'm going to choose this conics with calculus. Okay, I know I already have it there, but let me try a different math shared lesson. I'm going to just choose conics. So I'll select conics, scroll back up, and tell it I want it to connect to the gradebook. So I use the LTI link. I then click on select, and that's it. It's now in BrightSpace connected to the gradebook. Now, as an instructor, when I click on conics, the title of the lesson, what it shows me is the SoftChalk Score Center. Now, the Score Center is really an interesting idea because what it shows me are learner attempts. Now, what does that really mean? Well, the grade book shows me when a student's completed the lesson, but this shows me not only the scores students earn when they complete the lesson, but it also shows me students who did not complete it. They may have started the lesson and for who knows what reason, never finished it. I would be able to see that kind of information. Kind of an important thing. Then I could send them reminders during the semester that they really need to complete this lesson. Also, because they didn't complete the lesson, they have a 0 in the gradebook. What we can do toward the end or at the end of the semester is complete all of the attempts that currently are open. And that could change a student's grades for the semester because instead of a 0, they will get whatever points they've earned. Okay. Now, some things that we can do. We can change the scoring method. Now, what does scoring method means? Well, it means what score goes into the gradebook. There's a total of 32 possible points, but what score goes in? As a default, it is going to be the student's most recent attempt at the lesson. That can be changed. Rather than most recent, you could make it their first attempt, or you can make it their highest attempt. Or if you wanted to, you can make it an average. Now, I'm going to make it the highest score. And the thing is, you can actually make these changes at any point in time during the semester to give your students the best possible grade. I'm going to save that change. Other things that we can do is we can change the maximum number of attempts that you are allowing your students. As a default, it's unlimited. But again, that can be changed to any value from 1 through 10. Now, I've actually never had any of my students ever do a lesson more than 5 times. So 5 to me is the same as unlimited. So I'll make it 5 and I'll save those changes. Okay. So that's what we can do with the score center. Now I'm going to back up because I also have this other lesson that was there before we started, and it shows you an example of what it looks like when a student does a lesson. So here we have a student who took this lesson, scored 31.5 points out of the 32. I'm pretty happy with that. So are they. They only made 1 attempt. Now, if I click anywhere on this line, it's going to expand that list. And if they had more than 1 attempt, I would see all of their other attempts listed here. I can pick any of the attempts that they have. And notice each one of these items is a link. But if I click anywhere on that attempt list line, it will show me the details on how they have earned their points. So you can look at this and see, well, the activity on page 1, they scored 2 points. I can't remember what that activity was. But if I click on it, it's a word search activity. So they found all the words. Cool. My quiz question on page 1, the first one, they scored 1 point. They got them all right. All right, so they did really well on all of these questions. If I see they've scored all of the points. Now, if I wanted to, what I can do is pick a particular question and I can see how they've answered it. Okay, here it's a quiz group, a series of questions. And I can see that they got the first one correct. The second question, a short answer, the possible answer was 10, and they put in the number 10. This is incidentally where we would go to read an essay if we had an essay question. This is where we did, excuse me, be able to go to read that essay. Now, if we read an essay and it's worth, let's say, 5 points or 10 points, what we would then need to do, well, I'm going to back up here. I'll go up to the top part of my screen. If I have an essay question, then I'm going to need to change their score. So I would click on change score. I would enter their new score, and I'm just going to make something up here. Their new score is going to be 32, and that's because a half point was added for the essay on page, I usually like to put in the page number, on page 5. So I've now indicated that I've given them an extra half point for the essay. Their new score is 32 points. I change that score. I close it. And notice it now shows that they have a score of 32. And that would also reflect in the gradebook within BrightSpace. Now, if I back up and go into my mathematics class or module, I could then look, I could go through this and see everything else that I have created. Now that's how it looks when a student completes the lesson. We saw that. Let's do the same thing for science. So I have this external tool for the eye. As an instructor, I click on its title. It will then show me the score center where I can see that, the administrator took this lesson and made 2 attempts. They have a score of 70 out of 100, not very good. I can click on it and notice I can see each attempt. Oh, okay. On this attempt, they completed the lesson and they scored 70 points. On this attempt, they started it, but they never completed anything. And it gives me that list of what they didn't do. Well, they didn't do anything. I could then go back to my learner attempts. I can see how they've scored the 70 points by clicking on it, then clicking on the 70. And I can see they didn't do some things, but they had, oops, I guess I clicked on the wrong one again. So I'll come back, click on the eye. I'm going to look at this attempt right here. I'll just click on it, any link, and it then will show me how they've earned their 70 points. And I'm not sure because as I look through this, I don't see any scores. If I look at their, I'm going to change their score, and the new score is 70 because of the essay that they did on page 4. Well, let's see if there is an essay on page 4. No, but okay. That's how I can, that's again where the essay would have been for this lesson. So I just added 70 points to this student's score. Now, we just saw how we can add content and make it connect to the gradebook of D2 or of BrightSpace. That was, again, adding an existing activity, then choosing the SoftChalk link selector tool. We then select the lesson that we would like to include. And I'm going to use this BBJ branching lesson. I'm going to bring that in as an LTI link. I'll select it. And it's now there. Now, this is kind of a very interesting lesson. If I click on its title, it's going to show me the SoftChalk Score Center again. Now, let's see what this lesson actually looks like. I can click on the item name, and this is a different looking lesson than what most of you probably would think about when you create your content. I thought I'd show this. And it gives an introduction here. Now, this course, our content, was actually developed from I think it was the University of Texas, San Antonio. And I've given credit for the people who created this content. Now, I'm going to start the lesson. And if you look at it, you'll notice there's something missing. There's no navigation here. Okay, there is a next, but this doesn't look like the standard next button. There's a sidebar where students can click and they can, well, this is the beginning. This is a case study. They can look at a labor record. And then when they finish all of that, they're supposed to click on the next button. And now there are 3 choices here. So think about what you should do after you looked at the labor record. We've done that. What should we do? Well, I should probably contact the pediatrician. And it says, no, that's not really what you should do. So what this is creating is an adaptive learning lesson, or a scenario branching, where all of the navigation is turned off in the lesson and the navigation appears as links within the content itself. So we would click, and that says, yeah, that's probably what you should do. Now, after you've done all of that and you see all of this information, should you then return to speak with Mrs. Jones? So I've made my choice and it says, are you sure? Let's go back. Maybe I shouldn't. All right, maybe I should call the physician. And that tells me what to do. Now, here we're looking at several different explanations that we need to talk to the doctor about. This is an activity. I click on the image, and for the situation, what we want to do is give the doctor information. What should be our choices for this particular option? I could say problem seems to be cardiac, etc. Maybe I want to suggest something, or should I say, well, I don't want to suggest. How often do I want you to, or do you want me to do something? I'm calling about something. Do we need any tests? So I've put in these 4 items that I think are the situation. I then can check my answer and it says, I didn't do well. I only got 1 of the 2 of the 4 possible answers. Oh, okay. Maybe I want to try that again. And I've given different options. This is for explaining the situation, the background, the assessment, and the recommendation. As they say, that's the SBAR document that you should go through. So once we finish this, then we're ready to move on to our next page. And it takes us to another page where we get to listen to a transcript. And then we want to put in our ordering process. This should be in a sequence. So I drag, and then I could check my answer to see if I have them in the correct order. And I didn't. Okay. And then I move on for my next assessment. And then finally, we have this is called an accordion box where I can click on the plus sign. It says, is there anything you should check before giving medications? Click on the plus sign, and we said, yeah, you should check your dosage. All right, and then we have a question. What should you do next? So I would check my answer, and I'm not doing very well at all. Finally, I can end this. And this gives us a different looking lesson for our students. I'll close that. I'm back into BrightSpace. Now we've now put in lessons. Both of the lessons have been scored. Let's bring in another lesson. I'm going to go back into my, my general topics. I'm going to add an existing activity. And what I'm going to be adding is another SoftChalk link selector tool. I'm going to still add it as a lesson. I'm going to go inside of this Education 301 folder, and I'm going to choose this lesson, designer's lesson. I'm going to bring it in, not as an LTI. What means I don't want it to go into the gradebook. I'll bring it in as a hyperlink. And I've now put that lesson inside of BrightSpace as a hyperlink. Okay, pretty simply done. Now, are lessons the only kinds of content that you can add? No. If we wanted to, I'm going to add some new content, other content, and here I'm going to upload or create something new. I'm going to be creating nothing more than a simple file. I'll click on Create a File. Now that means this is not going to be scored. I'm going to give this a title, And I will make this a memory. Well, actually, I'm going to call this a trig memory game. Now, what I want to do to bring in this memory thing that we have already created, I click on this Insert Stuff button. And then I scroll down and I look for the SoftChalk Link Selector tool. I'll select that. And what it's going to do is once again show me my SoftChalk Cloud content. I'm going to go inside of my learning objects and I'll look inside of this, I guess, unsorted. See what's there, nothing. I'm going to look inside of this presentation activities and I'm going to use this trig identities memory. I'm going to select that. Now, how do I want this to appear in my lesson? It can appear as an embed code, or it can appear as a hyperlink. I'm going to bring the first one in as an embed code. So I've chosen it. Incidentally, if I wanted to, I can preview this to get an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay, here it is. I'm supposed to match the like values. I click and it shows me a trig identity. I then click somewhere else and those two don't match. Okay, I'll click again, cotangent, and click. Those don't match. I'm looking for matching items. Well, cosine over sine, that is, whoops, the cotangent, and I think I had that. So I could now click on this and click on that, and they match. I finally got a matching item. This is kind of like concentration, except I made it a little bit more difficult. I put in trig identities that are the matches. So I'll just look for something here. There's the number 1. Now I know that the number 1 matches with sine squared plus cosine squared. Okay, so I've found 2 matches. That's what I want to bring into BrightSpace. I've already got it selected. I previewed it. Now let me select. There it is. I can scroll down here and see it better. I'm going to insert it. And I've now placed it into BrightSpace, a trig memory activity. I save and close. And there is my activity. Now let's back up and let's add more content. I'm going to upload. And again, or something new. Again, I'm going to make this. I'm just going to choose this as create a file. And I'll call this or match the trig identities. I'm again going to click on the more stuff where I'm going to choose the SoftChalk Cloud Link Selector. I'm going to look inside of my learning objects and I'm going to choose the scored items. And I think I have this trig identity there. I'm going to make this one come in as a hyperlink just to show a difference between the two. I'll select it and insert it. Let's back up. I'll save and close. And now let's back up into our mathematics module, where I now see my trig, match the trig identities. I click, and then I click again. And it then displays that matching activity, the drag and drop activity, where we can drag and drop. If we put it in the wrong place, it jumps back. If we put it in the correct location, it stays. And again, we drag and we drop. Okay, I'll close that. And I'm back into my match the trig identities. So we see a difference when we add content into BrightSpace as an embed code and as a hyperlink. When I add it as a hyperlink, the way we just did, I have to click on its title and then click in again to make it display, but it uses the full screen. When I add it as an embed code, the way we had previously added that trig memory, I click and there it is. Now I may have to scroll to be able to see more of the object. It puts it in kind of as a more restrictive type window. And that's just a function of what BrightSpace does. We really cannot control this window size. Okay, let's back up. And let's look at our list again. So I'm going to go to my table of contents so I can see all of the content that we have added. We added Conics as an external learning tool. And all I have to do is click on that and it shows me the score center. Now, students will not be presented this. They'll go directly into the lesson itself, and it will stay or keep them within the BrightSpace framework. Now, as we look at our general topics here, this designers was a hyperlink. All the students have to do is click on that, and they will then be able to see that lesson directly in BrightSpace with all of our options that we have when we created each one of the activities that are here. I'll back up. And let's see. Oh, well, thanks, Alexander. Now, anyone have any questions on how to bring in content into BrightSpace? Pretty simple. We can bring it in as an LTI link, which connects to the gradebook. We can also bring it in as a hyperlink, or we could bring it in as an embed code. Any questions? Now, this is what you're using soon. For those of you who are still using Blackboard and your school, let's say, may not decide to move into BrightSpace for a while, then let me show you how we can do the same things using Blackboard. So I'm going to log in to Blackboard as an instructor, and I'm ready to add some content. What I would like to do is add some content that's going to be scored or connect to the Blackboard gradebook. Okay, I'm going to first of all choose where I want to put it. I'm going to put it inside of my content area. I'm going to make sure the edit mode is turned on, and I will build content, and I'm going to choose the SoftChalk Cloud link selector. I want to log into my cloud account. So I'll log into my cloud account. You have to do this the first time you connect to your cloud account from within the learning management system. I then go into my lessons folder, choose the lesson that I want to use, and I'm going to use this conics lesson. I then select LTI Link and click on Select. And that's it. I've now added that into Blackboard. Okay, pretty simple. Then we have our score center, which is identical to what you saw in BrightSpace. Now, can I add content as an embed code? Sure. All we have to do, well, to add content as an embed code, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm going to put it inside of my information folder. I'm going to be building content. I'm going to put it on a blank page. And what I now need to do is put in a title, and I will call this a trig memory activity. I now want to bring in that trig memory activity. Well, to do that, what I've got to do is expand my Blackboard toolbar and then click on this source code tool. Click. Then I need to go back into my SoftChalk cloud. I'm going to go out of here and into my Education 301 presentation folder, select that Trig Identities memory game, click on the embed code and copy it. Then we move into Blackboard and we paste into that window. We save it, and we've now put that into Blackboard. We then submit. And that's all it takes to put our content into Blackboard. It's a little bit more complicated because I have to copy and paste. Blackboard doesn't give us the tools that all of the tools available to us that other LMSs do. That's why we cannot bring in the embed code the way we did inside of BrightSpace. Okay, I'll close this, come back into my SoftChalk cloud. Now, can I also bring in an item as a hyperlink? Sure. Let's go back into Blackboard. So I'll log into Blackboard again as an instructor, and I'm going to put this in my mathematics module directly here. I'll put it in my content or my mathematics course. I'll put it in my information folder. And what I now want to do is I'm going to choose the SoftChalk Cloud link selector tool. I'm going to look inside of my learning objects, and I'll use this scored item and choose the trig identities. I want to bring that in as a hyperlink. Notice the LTI link is grayed out because you can only put lessons in to make them connect to the gradebook. I'll select it, and then I'll turn off the edit mode, click, and there I brought my content in as a hyperlink. Okay, let's back up. Let's come back into the SoftChalk cloud. Now, and I actually I'll go back into your SoftChalk cloud, the WVNet, because I'm sure you're going to remember everything that I've just shown you this morning because, okay, you've seen it, and we all have memories that are really work well. Unless you're like me, and then sometimes I forget things. Well, what you can do is from the West Virginia Network cloud screen, just go to this support option and then click on Support Center. What this will do is take you to the SoftChalk Cloud Support Center, where you can then get more support and look at videos. I'm going to do cloud-based videos. So I'll click. And what I want to do is deliver my content into BrightSpace. I just click on this, and you'll notice we have 3 different videos, all less than 3 minutes each. How to link content, I know it says lesson, how to link content into BrightSpace, how to embed content into BrightSpace, and how to put content in to connect to the gradebook. Well, if I also notice, and I'm still using Blackboard, you can click how to link content into Blackboard, how to embed content into Blackboard, and how to track scores into the Blackboard gradebook. That's always available to you whenever you want to review how do I add this content into. That's all it takes. Now, how did I get here again? I went to the WVNet work cloud, went to support, chose Score Center, support, and then video clouds. And this also gives you a lot of other information about using the SoftChalk cloud to help you create your lesson content. And that's about all that I have for this morning. If anyone has any questions, now's a great time to ask. I'll try to answer them for you. If not, I hope you've enjoyed this. And then you say, wow, that's going to be really easy. That's the whole idea. As we used to say in SoftChalk, if it's not easy, it's not SoftChalk. I'll give everybody a few more seconds and see if you have any other questions. I don't see any other questions, so thanks, everybody. Oh, I'm glad you like the branching example. It gives you some opportunities to really help you out in giving you a different kind of navigation within your lessons. And I really like showing that. With that, I'm done. Thanks. And Elisa, I think we're finished a little bit early. That's all I have to show how to add content into BrightSpace from the SoftChalk Cloud. Quick, easy, yet really efficient. Well, I still see we have some people still in the room. Let me show you some other things that we have under this support option. And again, that was found simply by clicking on support. And then under support, we have this option for short courses. And some of you may already know about this, but our short courses, and you'll notice that they are free. The short courses are an hour in length and they cover specific content within SoftChalk Create and SoftChalk Cloud. The next one coming up is going to be enhancing text with SoftChalk Create. And that's going to happen today. Probably not going to be a good time for everybody here today, but you'll notice we have navigation features, embedding media, quizzes, and the SoftChalk Score Center, interactive presentations, and scoring presentations that will be coming up in the near future. Now, this list of classes, we repeat it monthly, and there'll be a new list of classes coming out in August. Okay, again, thanks everybody. I guess my time is just about up. I'm still sticking around in case anybody has any other questions. Well, thank you, Tim. You notice that when I'm speaking about BrightSpace, periodically I do say D2L. I've been using Desire to Learn since it first came out many years ago. So I still think of it as D2L, although their product name is now called BrightSpace. And D2L is the company name that produces BrightSpace. Okay, that's what they tell me I'm supposed to say. Thanks, everybody. Time for me to say goodbye. Have a great afternoon and enjoy the conference.